Welcome, apreciados amigos y amigas. Qué alegría que estamos todos juntos aquí en la Iglesia de Todos los Santos, dear friends. Welcome. What a joy it is for us all to be together here at All Saints Church. Mi nombre es Mike Kinman. My name is Mike Kinman. Soy Rector. I'm the Rector. Mi pronombre él. My pronouns are he, him. It is Palm Sunday, and it is a Palm Sunday like no other. It is interesting and in some ways hard to be connected only in this way, and it is also a joy to be connected in this way. And we are thrilled that we have joining us in our Rector's Forum this morning two dear, dear friends of All Saints Church, Becca Stevens and Frannie Hall Kieschnick. I invite you to find a candle and something to light it with. I have this candle from Thistle Farms. And I look, Becca and Frannie have theirs. This one is vanilla, which is one of my favorites. And if you don't have a candle, I've got this here. And so Becca has become a dear friend of All Saints Church. She is the founder of Thistle Farms. It is a community of women survivors of trafficking, prostitution, and addiction, and dedicated to the belief that love is the most powerful force in the world. And then Frannie is a former priest at All Saints Church, and she is currently co-chair of Thistle Farms Global Advisory Council, which works with women's cooperatives around the world as we build a more just economy for women and everyone. And every day at Thistle Farms starts with something called the Circle. And they had to stop it physically now, but it continues in different ways. And at the Circle, a candle is lit for the woman who is still out on the streets. It is a symbol of welcome. It is a symbol of hope. When we light the candle, we light the way as she seeks sanctuary from abuse, violence, poverty, and addiction. And it is more important than ever for us to light this candle because the street is an even more dangerous place to be right now. So we are going to light this candle. And pray. Holy God, you are light in the bleakness, hope amidst despair. You are the love that breaks down every wall and heals every wound. We light this candle for the women who are still out on our streets right now, trying to find their way home. Help us be the sanctuary they need. Help us all be healed by your amazing love. Amen. Becca, I want to welcome you. Would you like to just say a few brief words of welcome? And unmute yourself.
Trying to unmute myself. Hi, Mike. Hi, Frannie. Hi, everybody. It is so good to be connected for a minute. Just seeing your face kind of made me weepy, Mike. So I'm grateful. We finished our service here at St. Augustine's. We're a couple hours ahead. And I came back to my house just to sit in the yard and breathe a little bit and to say, I love y'all. And I'm thinking about everybody.
That's great. Frannie, you want to say hi? You got to unmute, Frannie. I unmuted you. Go ahead.
So I'm a neophyte in the Zoom land, as some of you may be. So I just want to say how honored I am to be in the company, at least in this way, of Mike and Becca. I am sheltering in place in our home in Palo Alto. It's a rainy day, and I'm sheltering with our daughter Hannah and Michael and our dog Nevi, who cannot believe how much we're walking her and snuggling with her. I hope and pray that each one of you is safe. And Mike, thank you for inviting me to talk about Thistle Theology, which I think is a great term that I will not forget, because it is so relevant for this moment in the pandemic. As Mike, you mentioned, I served at All Saints in 1982. I arrived as the first woman curate. And times have changed in many ways, and in many ways, All Saints is still at the front lines of seeking justice and loving mercy and walking humbly with our God. So I'm honored to be here.
Wonderful. Thanks, Frannie. And I guess I just want to start off by asking just about this crazy world we're in right now, and how is the pandemic affecting you, and how are you responding to it, and what's on your heart this morning? Becca, you want to start off?
Sure. I was laughing. Allison Pill had invited us to be on Kelly Clarkson. I don't know, it was probably a month ago. We were flying out to see you guys and staying at a swanky hotel and talking on national TV. And then Frannie and I and a few other people were in the Matamoros camp in Mexico working with asylum seekers. And it was Thursday night, about 3 weeks ago, Thursday night. And they just said, look, you got to leave. Anybody that flew here, we're closing the camp down. It's done. And the world got a lot smaller. I mean, it's as small as the screen I'm looking at you on in some ways. And, I'm back to unboxing a lot of toilet paper for folks, delivering food to a lot of folks. So it's been humbling. I have done prayers for people who are critically ill over the phone. A new experience for me that about breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I've worried about my children. I've cooked and cleaned more than I ever want to. And I'm so grateful. I had a birthday, a few days ago, and I don't even like birthdays. And I cried through most of my birthday I felt grateful all day long for every card, for everybody that said they loved me. So it's been a very sweet time. It's been a very weepy time. It's been a humbling time. There's some freedom in it. All of those things are happening for me. But, I know for me, I don't know, y'all can speak to something different, but whatever the government's saying or whatever's happening, what I know in my life is I don't want to do runs on toilet paper or runs for small businesses for a certain amount of money where everybody starts competing and hoarding. It feels like the same thing to me. That's what's going on right now. And I keep thinking the witness is to keep sharing and loving. That's the witness. And that's where I am. And I'm going to do my damnedest to keep doing it.
Mm.
Frannie, how about you? What's on your heart right now?
Well, as Becca said, we really, we left Matamoros with heavy hearts and came back excruciatingly aware of the fact that we could leave the camps. We had freedom to move. And those asylum seekers are in quarantine. That is the reality of their lives. And so we came back, and I think in the wake of being volunteering at Matamoros, at least I felt needed and as if we could help in small, important ways. And I came back, and it's always my instinct to go to where the need is, to people or places. And I was told, shelter in place, you're at risk. I'm 66 years old. And so I had to face the reality of not following my instinct to go out and be a source of support and help. So it was very frustrating and hard, but I managed to work through that and figure out, okay, I'm going to be curious in this new space, and I'm going to be creative, and I'm going to be courageous. I'm even going to learn how to Zoom. And the doors opened. I felt freer to really celebrate the opportunity to connect with people by phone, with parishioners. I think it's so heartbreaking that people cannot show up for their own families. in the hospital, literally cannot be present with those who are dying or have died. And so I've tried to be creative to just figure out new ways or old ways that I hadn't known about, celebrate them, to connect. And I've approached the news not only because I'm sure many people are addicted and want to find out what's the latest news, but also I've found articles that inspired me, or photographs that have inspired me. And so I started again something that I did a long time ago, which is something called Commonplaces. It's just a journal. It's I Am a Thistle Farmer journal. And I scrapbook, I put in it articles, Mike, your marvelous quotes that you post, #LoveHeals, they're all in this book. And there was one article about the concern and the fear by many of the end of times, of the apocalypse. And I feel as if Thistle Farms has recognized the truth of injustice, economic injustice, all of the expressions of injustice and violence. And so my gratitude and prayers for the women all around the world who are survivors has welled up and kind of kept me feeling like, if they can do it, so can I.
That's wonderful. I mean, thank you so much.
Mike, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I mean, I have, like we all do, I have moments, and there is something incredibly counterintuitive about what we're going through right now, because when our communities are in trouble, our instinct is to rush out to them. When our government is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, our instinct is to rush out into the streets and protest. When people are hurting, our instinct is to rush to the bedside. And this is what love is telling us that we can't do right now. And it's brutal. It is absolutely brutal not to be able to do that. And, I'm finding, lots of things have new meanings. I'm looking at things a new way. And that's actually sort of a good transition to what I'd love to talk about, which is, Becca, when you were here, wow, it was like February 2017, and you preached at our celebration of a new ministry. You said something there that I've kept with me always. In fact, I just sort of keep it in this, like attached right on this portfolio that I have, and I look at it every day. And there were 7 things that you challenged me to do as rector of All Saints Church. And really, they were never just about me, but they were about all of us. And let me see if I can manage the Zoom technology here to put this up here. Not that one. So let me see here. Hold on a second.
Mike, that was it.
That was it? Oh, okay, then let me try it again. There we go. And so it was practice the one sacrament of the church with its 7 prisms, which is healing. Grieve with abandonment. There is more to grieve as we get older and it becomes deeper and richer. Transform longing into solitude as you contemplate. Commit to the humility of the priesthood and keep taking out the trash and washing dishes. Give heed to your dreams that want to carry you to a new vision. Know the closest prison and visit it, and make sure you sign up as a volunteer next week and build a shelter like you might build a cathedral. Now, I look at these every day and I realize they're taking on new meaning. I mean, healing and how that is sacramentally present in different ways, the depth of grief, the different kind of solitude, coming around here around campus and picking up trash, daring to dream, visiting prisoners. How do you do that? And people are being held prisoner in new ways. And then how do we build shelter like you're building a cathedral? And I'd like to throw this open, Becca, first to you, and just to say, how do you remember these, and how are you looking at some of these differently?
I think that this whole time, I mean, those are good like touchstones for it, I think. But to me, one of the lessons is get small, you know, to get big, get humble, to get courage, you know, all those things. So, you know, they're good reminders for me too, for all of us. I think it's helpful. But like, boy, if there's a time to take out the trash and do the dishes, this is it. And to see it as something that's holy, you know. And I didn't make up any of this stuff. You know, you know that old story about the monks doing the dishes and somebody comes in and, you know, they want to have worship, and he's like, you're looking at it, that this is our worship. This is what we do right now is we take out the trash and we do the dishes, and we know that is an act of love. And I do think one of the more important ones for me in the list that you are talking about is, and by the way, I don't think we've learned the lessons of this yet. We are just in the middle of it. And so I don't want to go like, oh, well, here's the lesson of our quarantine, because, you know, I think I'm interested, like Holy Week, to be in it, not to say, oh, here's the message of Easter on Palm Sunday. I want to go through it. And I don't want to say, this is the lesson of the quarantine till I've gone through it. But I do know, you know, that this longing that we have and this aloneness that we have is probably a huge gift in some ways for practicing solitude. And I'm really trying to pay attention to it, of saying, you know, sit the hell down. Don't do anything. Sit down and be in it for just a minute. Don't even frantically scroll through your phone to find out the latest numbers. Just sit here and take it in. And it's a lot. Frannie, what are you thinking? Frannie, you got to unmute yourself.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm thinking that I'm listening to the gospel according to Becca. There's such wisdom. I feel as if healing comes from love and comes from community. And one of the challenges of this time is to experience community despite the distance. You know, the social distancing, I prefer to reframe as physical distancing and social dancing. And I think we can bring, you know, as prisoners of hope, we must bring to this moment a hope. And as Becca said, be in this space. And so the grief, Mike, you talked about grief as a holy response. And I think it's really difficult for people to allow themselves to be vulnerable and to feel. And it gets us into all sorts of trouble when we don't allow ourselves to feel the feelings that we're experiencing. And in this time, you know, there's so much loss and fear and pain. And so I guess that whole humility of the priesthood and washing dishes, I had to call our housekeeper, our house cleaner, to learn where her supplies are and some of her techniques. And it made me feel as if I'm taking for granted those who are a part of our life, who are helping us to be able to do what we do in the world. And I'm not going to forget that. so the solitude piece, I think also is a challenge, is difficult for many of us. We're busy and we're surrounded and we're comfortable in that space. And to be forced into a place of more aloneness, I think, as Becca said, it can be an opportunity to be, I have a noisy mind, and as nicely as I try to tell it not to be noisy, it won't shut up. And so it's hard for me. That's why yoga is such a blessing, because my body needs to move. And so I pray that we all find ways to feel more comfortable in the solitude.
And I think there's some people who, like, for a lot of us, our kids have all come home. You know, they're home. My kids are home, and our kids, my husband's, my kids are all here. And a couple girlfriends too are sheltering with us. So, you know, the solitude might be with a whole bunch of people. And my heart goes out to everybody homeschooling. Oh my gosh. You know, like, I don't think any of us signed up, especially for college homeschooling. That is a new freaking ball game. But I just want to do a shout out to everybody, you know, who is working from home with their kids.
So yeah, and this is, I mean, there are so many new challenges, and one of the things that I'm working with myself is, and it does have that sort of grieve with abandonment. And I remember thinking about that when you first said that, is there is a way that I've always had a fear of grief, because I fear that it might drag me under and I might not come back up. And because of that, you know, part of it is me growing up in a British household, where, as John Mulaney said, I'm used to taking all of my feelings and putting them in this one little place here, and then one day I'll die. And so not trying to worry about that. And it's been a lifetime of trying to understand. And frankly, my parents were wonderful models for, like, how do you feel with stuff? And been learning how to do that. But I fear that, you know, the grief will drag me under, and I'm having to learn that, no, what we do is we hold each other while we grieve. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't grieve alone, we grieve together. And it does get, I love the language, it gets deeper and richer. There is a richness to grief that in some ways feels counterintuitive, but it's not. There is a richness to it. And you know, the way we do it is together, and that's a challenge I'm seeing right now. But I'm also seeing it as an opportunity for how do we connect in ways. I got a text this morning from a parishioner whose husband died after, you know, having cancer for more than a decade or 2 decades even, and yeah, we weren't able to be together physically, and we are grieving together right now, and we are grieving as a community. And so I think there's ways we're discovering new ways to do these things.
So yes, there's new ways to do it for sure. And there's new ways to love each other, to be about justice, to be about this work. You know, yesterday I got the call. So we've been in Ecuador for more than 20 years with communities there. And, you know, we were all about trying to continue to work with our small community. And so many people in that community have family in Guayaquil. And, you know, Guayaquil is getting slammed by coronavirus, and they're overwhelmed. And this particular person, their grandfather and uncle, they've died in their house, and nobody can go get them. They can't even go there's no one there to get the bodies.
Yeah.
That's a new way of
yeah.
I just think it's like we could take it in snippets, and we can glimpse at it, and then we got to figure out how to keep going.
Yeah.
I love y'all. I'm so glad to be talking to you, because it's reminding me of that. It's reminding me of, like, you know, of the horrific stuff there is out there. It's horrific. And I think about, not people, people dying alone and not even be able to get their bodies. I mean, like, what the hell? Just, that is deep grief. And I think it is brave to even contemplate it and to think about how to love each other. Just, that's all I got.
Yeah. Do we have any news from what's happening? We got an update from the refugee camp in Greece that they're having to isolate. Frannie or Becca, have you heard any more about what's going on there?
Just that they're isolating in their ISO boxes where each one is housed. Becca, have you heard anything more?
Well, just, I mean, it's going to be 14 days, but if you can imagine, it's about the half of the size of a truck bed. And they have police guards outside it. So this is the community where we all went in 2017, and Frannie and I and 7 people, we started weaving the welcome mats, and we've talked about it at All Saints. And it was in the middle of that camp that I called you, Mike, and I was in that space of deep grief witnessing this, and I'm like, will you buy the first mat, whatever it looks like, will you buy it? Oh,
It's my altar cloth.
oh my God. Anyway, and the women have kept weaving through everything, but they can't weave right now. There's 14 days of no weaving. And so what we're doing is, I mean, a lot of folks, we're just giving enough money to make sure they keep getting paid while they're sitting in their boxes. So again, the economics of it is also, the economics of it, these messages coming in are pretty disturbing as well, by the way. But anyway, just that their economic worries get alleviated while they're also trying to figure out how to keep themselves safe and their families safe while they're in the camp for who knows long.
Sorry, just taking care of a little business. So, yeah.
What's happened in the Matamoros camp, I've just heard, is that there are now buses lined up waiting to deport people back, and people are self-deporting to escape the virus, but going back to what caused them to seek asylum in the first place.
So that's where I wonder about, the whole idea of, is this a way that we can build a shelter like we would a cathedral? What are the ways that we can, I think about where can I learn, where can I cultivate empathy? And can we come out of this? And I feel like we're not there. We got to be in this space right now where we are. But what does it mean in the middle of this to create beautiful spaces? When we talk about sheltering in place, how can we create beautiful spaces and help everyone create beautiful spaces? Any sort of thoughts about that? About, Becca, you've been doing a lot of, you're able to hike and walk there. They shut down all the hiking trails.
Oh no, we've shut down now. They're
you
gone.
Shut down? Oh, they're gone. Okay.
We do everything y'all do. We just do it a week later.
Right. Well, it's okay. Missouri does it like 2 weeks later than you. So. Yeah.
But no, we've shut down. I'm sorry, you got me going on some other stuff, and it's hard to switch gears. But I will say that, part of me was born for times like this. The more you can make at home, the more crafting you can do. I thrive in that space. Like I made face masks that were really good before they started telling us to make them, because I've added the interfacing and a paper clip inside my bandana, so it's perfect. I started making hand sanitizers immediately. I love doing all that stuff, and I love making blankets and socks and figuring out how to create anything. And my feeling is that, the crafts are revolutionary. The more creativity we can get, the more ideas that come, the more we get fired up for doing good work. So part of us can really thrive in this, Mike and Frannie and everybody here. the more creative we get, the better, the more revolutionary that is. And to keep, it somehow puts healing back in our control, even in this uncontrollable environment. Somehow it gives us a sense of like worth and well-being. When we can make something, we feel good. And also it's something to share. Like I can share with other people, like, look, these are socks I made. I'm taking care of my family. I've put frankincense on it, which gets rid of everything in the whole world. You know, you can just keep thinking of more and more creative ways that we get to be a part of healing. And that helps me so much.
Yeah. So tell how is Thistle Farms doing? And because I keep ordering stuff and it keeps getting sent to me. And so people can go to thistlefarms.com and there's great stuff there. So how is the business doing, and how are the community of women doing?
Well, that's what I was saying at first is, I mean, like, we are okay. Like, really my job in this time is making sure every woman in the community and all the graduates have food and what they need to keep going. There are many women who are graduates of the program, not just the residents, who are health compromised, that we are delivering to their door. We are working to make sure they are able to stay sheltered and safe. And I loved what one of the graduates said. She goes, I'm not stuck at home, I'm safe at home. You know, and to feel that safety for folks who haven't had safety is a huge gift. So that's how the residents and graduates are doing. So that's about 200 people and their families and plus their friends. I mean, it's a lot. It's a big community to take care of in that way. But also, you know, we've shut down the cafe. We've shut down our retail division. We've shut down our events. You know, my calendar has, you know, really opened up in a lot of ways because all the work I've done has been shut down. But our online sales, thank you God, has totally kept going, and we're going to be okay. We're going to weather through it, and we're going to apply for that money, and we're going to figure it out. Hal Cato is doing a beautiful job. You know, we're really aware that the women of Thistle Farms are safe at home, that they are working. And somebody just chatted, and I agree that that's not true for everybody. And anybody, honestly, that wants to reach out to us at Thistle Farms who isn't feeling safe, I don't know what all we can do in this shelter time, you know, but I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'm happy to help find resources and communities. But I know All Saints is that way too, is like, you know, finding safety is a huge thing.
Yeah.
I just want to say also that I have a little bit of ADD. So anytime the chat comes on, I just start reading the chat, and then that's on my mind. Whatever the question was, Mike, is gone.
Oh, that's great.
If you have ADD like that, I'd want it too.
So one of the things that we're having trouble with here is, you know, we're used to being able to go into the jails and visit people, and that's something that we can't do, and trying to keep in touch with that. And how are you all wrestling with that? Because I know you have Magdalene on the inside and other stuff going on. How are you keeping in touch and wrestling with that?
Well, we are not going in. It's done. They won't let us in. We've been trying to give, you know, hand sanitizer even to the guards, anything to make friends with folks. We are doing whatever it is that we can. You can only give, you know, white soap to all the prisoners, which we've done, but, you know, I don't know what to tell you. We're not, but I know that, you know, we're writing letters to everybody. That's one thing we're doing. We're lighting candles. And one of the things that I'm realizing right now is it seems like it's such a small act to light a candle. And that's the stuff I think that is really big right now. What a brave thing just to light a candle and say, I'm going to keep praying. I'm going to keep praying and keep my heart open. That feels bold and amazing to me in the midst of this. And I know that the miracle of Thistle Farms isn't that we lit a candle. The miracle is that that candle has never gone out in almost 25 years now. And I'll be damned if it goes out because of this.
Right. Amen.
Amen.
Susie Glaze asked a question, said, how are you all dealing with people's fear?
Mm.
How are you dealing with people's fear? Oh, it's unmute, Becca. I got it. Try again. Oh, we're unmuting each other. Sorry. You unmute yourself.
I just wanted to say, Frannie, how are you doing that with people's fear? I've talked a lot.
Mm. Well, for good reason. Sharing in it, I think recognizing that if you don't feel fear, you can't be courageous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's like teenagers who think that their life is over because of an event. We will move through this. And I think, what did Annie Lamott say about courage is fear that has said its prayers. So I'm doing a lot of praying with people over the phone, which is a bit of a challenge to my Episcopal heart.
In what way?
First of all, I like to be in the presence of people, be with them bodily in prayer, because I feel together with them the spirit that's working between us. And if I'm on the phone, I don't hear that. And the other, honestly, is that I've had some experiences in my life of more conservative, far right people, I think, who've given me a model of that kind of prayer that felt like what they were really trying to do is pray for a parking place instead of being in the presence of love.
We got about 2 or 3 minutes left. And I want to say, Becca, we're still really looking forward to having a group come out there when we're able to travel again and be with you all in Nashville at Thistle Farms. We're looking forward to reading the new Find Your Way Home when it comes out. We're looking forward to continuing this just incredible partnership that we've begun here.
You guys are a huge part of this story, and it continues to be that way. I mean, you're as close to my friends in Nashville now. We're all the same distance.
That's right.
That's the truth. Is like I'm not hanging with folks here, so you're my closest friends probably. No, but I can't wait to see how the work that we've done for 25 years plays out after this too. I think it's like, if anything, I understand the need more and more for these small communities of women all over the globe, healing their communities, doing economic empowerment, worrying about the education of their kids in very small ways. We keep saying, if you want to love the whole world, you love in small communities. That, I think, is truer than ever. So a lot of what I'm feeling is more resolve for the work. So part of me is like, I want this to see this through and to see how the healing products we make. Oh my gosh, everybody recognizes again, frankincense is really good stuff. Diffusers and essential oils, they are good and we need them and we can't forget it. So I'm looking forward to where it heads. And I love you, Frannie, like all day long. Mike Kinman, I love you. I love everybody at All Saints so much. At Thistle Farms, we know you are our family.
Well, we're all family together. And we have to close this out so we can get ready for our children's chapel and our next part of our worship and time together. Becca, would you
share one more?
Go ahead.
There one more thing that I
Go for it.
Was inspired by my granddaughter to do. It's a bottle bubble blower. Can you see it?
Yes.
It's amazing what one can do and in connecting. And playfulness is also a hallmark of Thistle Farm and of Becca and you, Mike. And I think it's something to remember in this time.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And just had someone say, amidst all of this, are there dreams of a next endeavor from Thistle Farms that we could support? And I think that's what we're looking at right now, is we're figuring out, what's next. And, that thing that you said, give heed to your dreams that want to carry you to a new vision. And so this is a time for us to, while we're in this state, to feel it and also to give heed to our dreams. Becca, would you send us out with a prayer?
Gracious and loving God, thank you for the All Saints family, for every person on this call and all those that we love. Pray for all those who are doing the heroic work on the front lines, and pray for all those who are suffering in body, mind, and spirit. Keep those in the most vulnerable communities and the most vulnerable places in the world close to your heart. And let us never forget the hope of dwelling in the valleys and in the green pastures where love leads. Amen.
Amen. Love you both. Love you all. Thank you so much. And we'll have you back soon, and can't wait till we can actually be together in person.
Bye, Alfredo. Bye, Susan. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, Becca. Bye-bye, Frannie. Bye-bye. Take care. Miss you guys.
Bye.
Okay.